Scatter plots and trend lines. Concept 3, identifying correlations. So we talked about this a little bit in the last video about identifying correlations when you just have a situation rather than a graph that you're looking at. The first thing you want to do is look at the data values that you're given, ask yourself if they're related at all, and then you're going to choose positive, negative, or no correlation. Sometimes these can be hard to tell, but sometimes they're pretty easy. Okay, so our first situation is we want to describe the relationship between temperature and the sales of ice cream. So if you are thinking about it, the hotter the day, probably the more ice cream is going to be sold. Okay, it doesn't mean that if it was really cold, nobody would go buy ice cream, but if it's a really hot day, you're going to tend to have more people buying ice cream. Okay, so that's going to be a positive relationship. Okay, or a positive correlation. Okay, now the relationship between age and home runs hit. So this is people. So let's see, do we have a positive correlation? The older we get, do we hit more home runs? Well, probably not. The younger we are, do we hit more home runs? Well, maybe, but babies aren't out there hitting home runs. So it's not going to be a very good correlation if it's any correlation. And this doesn't say anything about whether all the people are baseball players or not. So I would say that age and the number of home runs hit really has no correlation, right? And the last one is describe the relationship between the number of students and their ability to focus in class. Okay? So the lower number of students you have, the more they're able to focus, I would say. And the more students you have, the more likely it is that their ability to focus decreases. So this would be a negative relationship.